On my Rikon 14-inch bandsaw, the factory dust collection port does an okay job of keeping the sawdust out of the lower wheel compartment, but it doesn't do much of anything for the dust that's falling through the table. You can see it's just piling up everywhere. So I have added an auxiliary dust collection port to hopefully pick up the dust falling through the table. It's just some 2-inch PVC pipe fittings. I cut this upper elbow where it would fit past my blade and the blade guides. I'll take it off in a little while and show what it looks like, how I notched it out. But first I'm going to hook it up and make some cuts and see if it works. Okay, I vacuumed the saw so I would have a clean start. That way I can get an idea of whether this new dust port is going to help or not. This log has a big split in it from where the tree was cut down, and in order to get the most out of it, I'm going to try cutting right down that split. We'll see how it goes. And here's what the saw looks like. Of course, the right side of the table had the log milling sled on it, so I didn't expect any dust to be on it. But this is the real test down here. Had a little bit of fallout. Let's see about this other side. We still got a little pile on the outfeed side of the table. I suppose that's getting pushed off by the log and the sled. But overall, my little attachment is helping out a bunch. Not a whole lot of dust escaping it. My intention is to put a 4x2, either a T or a Y fitting down here on the main port to attach the 2-inch hose. Right now this hose is the one I pulled over from my router table. It's just temporary for a test. Okay, let me take this thing off of here so you can see what I got going on. So I've just got a band clamp holding the pipe on because I wanted it to be easy to remove in a hurry. Yep, there goes my wedge. I had to stick a little wedge in here to keep it from twisting and getting against my blade guide. On my base here, I found a hole that was not being used for anything. I don't know if it's supposed to be a bolt in there for a stop for tilting the table, but whatever, it didn't seem to be for anything. So I ran a 1/4 by 20 tap down it and was able to thread this bolt in. If you've ever assembled Formica countertops, this is the type of bolt with these little square pieces that hold the countertops together. And they work perfect for a clamp to hold this band clamp. I don't know if you can see it, I've got a lock nut on the back here. These three pieces are the spacer pieces, not the threaded pieces. So they'll run all the way out to the edge of the bolt. And then I've got that lock nut there to tighten them down. And I put a lock nut inside here to keep this bolt from twisting on me. Let me get this over to my workbench. We can take a better look at it. If you want to make this modification to your Rikon bandsaw, you'll need a 90-degree 2-inch elbow, a 90-degree 2-inch, I believe this is a street elbow, a short piece of 2-inch pipe. This is the cutoff piece from the upper elbow, and I put it on here as a spacer to help clamp, and I also wound up having to use a wedge to hold it out in just the right angle. If you can come up with a better way to mount it, you may not need a wedge. Spend a little bit of time manufacturing some kind of bracket. So what I used was a 3.5-inch hex bolt, 1/4 by 20, and these 3 spacers. I clamped the band clamp at the last spacer, so it was offset from the bolt, and that worked out really well to clamp the pipe to. The bolt was in such a position where it had to be, the clamp had to be off center in order to work right. And you'll need a couple of 1/4 by 20 hex nuts, one for a locking nut here and one for a locking nut at the saw. So all I did was I cut this pipe off at 3 inches tall, and then I just held it up to the guides on the saw up underneath the table and notched so it would slide in around where the blade goes and the little plastic pieces on each side of the blade, and to also clear the guide bearings. It took a little bit of trial and error, and you can see I cut in too deep in a couple places, and I just came back and filled that in with 5-minute epoxy. I don't really care what it looks like, just as long as it's sealed up, because I want to collect as much dust as possible. It would probably work almost as well without any of this even on here, just having a pipe straight up to the blade, but I felt like having this piece in front of the blade would help keep dust from flying out forward and help channel it down the pipe. So obviously this piece will have to come off if you tilt your table. If you have the time and you want to put the effort into making a bracket, that's another option rather than using the band clamp. I used it because it was the simplest thing to do and to make removing it quick and easy, and it holds the pipe good and steady, so I don't see any reason for me to make anything else to mount this with. It seems like it helps out a good bit. I'm not getting nearly as much sawdust spilling over, and obviously it's not going to catch everything because it has to have such big gaps to fit around the blade guide, but it's way better than it was without anything. So this is the log I've just milled. Nice looking little slabs here. A little spalting going on.